Your right-angle crew needs to stage an intervention. Now, an intervention is where a group of friends and loved ones gently confront somebody without pointing any fingers or making accusations about their addiction to something that is destroying their lives and hurting those around them. So the three of us need to stage an intervention for the producers of DC Comics movies and ask why they all suck. Why are you addicted to sucking? Stop it. Hey everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and the reason I bring this up is not only did my children make me watch Justice League, but there's news this week that the Joker movie, which I thought sounded like an intriguing premise, give a standalone movie to the screen's favorite psychotic villain, except they've cast Alec Baldwin in the role of Bruce Wayne's father when he was younger and alive and still running Wayne Enterprises, and according to Hollywood Reporter, Baldwin has been tapped for the role of Thomas Wayne, the father of the future Caped Crusader. Sources say the script paints Thomas Wayne as a cheesy and tanned businessman who is more in the mold of a 1980s Donald Trump. Bill, you're out there in Hollywood. You've got your ear to the ground. How does something so bad for what could have been a dark and serious and yet still fun movie, how does something so cheesy and awful get decided on as something that a movie like this needs?
Well, first of all, when you live in an echo chamber, that's kind of the definition of an echo chamber. You have no idea that there are any other opinions, maybe a few hundred knuckle-dragging Christians in parts of Texas that don't receive television signals. They may still like this stuff, but they think that everybody else thinks the same way that they do, to their detriment. To the larger issue, next larger issue, you would think that this would hurt them at the box office. You would think that if you're going to make a Donald Trump parody, you're going to lose half of your audience.
Now, I think there's room for a Donald Trump parody. I think that might be an entertaining movie, but in the Joker?
But I mean, if you're going to throw it into the Batman canon, yeah, then if you do that, they don't see. Here's the thing that most people don't understand about Hollywood. Although this is generally an exception, this particular kind of movie, Hollywood doesn't expect movies to succeed. They make 10. If a studio makes 10 movies a year, they know that 8 of them are going to fail. 1 of them will break even, and they're hoping for the one that's going to cover the cost of all the rest of them. And that's why the accounting over there is so ridiculous. But obviously, a DC superhero movie is a tentpole movie. This is the kind of movie that's supposed to make money back on all the ones that didn't make money. So, just like in everything else, Steve, their politics supersedes everything. They don't care. They'll make movies about the most arcane things just so that they can sound good at cocktail parties. I mean, really, that's really what it comes down to. When you say, how do people make this decision, that's assuming that a decision gets made, you know. It's not William Gibson, what's his name? There's a writer, Hollywood writer, I've forgotten his last name, who says,
Goldman?
Asked him about Hollywood. He said, look, the secret to Hollywood is ain't nobody knows nothing. And that's basically it. Now,
It's the
as
guy
far
who
as the
wrote
larger
Princess
issue,
Bride said that.
what was his last name?
I think it was
William
Goldman, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Goldman. That's it. Yep. Now, as far as the bigger issue goes, you can sum this up, I think, by the fact that, however reluctantly, Avengers decided to stay with a kind of essential patriotic American kind of thing. They could have completely doused, Captain America. They could have hosed a bunch of things, but we've all been quite amazed at some conservative issues in the Avengers movie that make them not a political dose of cod liver oil that you have to take with your nose held shut. DC, on the other hand, I'm sure that Marvel is as left-wing as DC, but DC doesn't have the good sense to keep it under wraps. And I remember when that Brandon Routh Superman movie came out many years ago, 10 years ago, that they had changed the. They said, "What is? Well, find out what he believes in is truth, justice,
And
all that stuff."
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. We know what's being told when we tell you that, and we're not going to go. So if you've got a movie studio and a comic book franchise that's uncomfortable with patriotism, you're going to get the kind of lackluster Superman movies that we've seen, where he has become an extremely underwhelming character because the things that he is about are not tolerated by the people that now own his image. If you wanted to really make money, Marvel, you would make a Superman movie where Superman was about truth, justice, and the American way.
Damn right.
And that movie would do very well, as Superman had done. But they won't do it.
All right.
So,
sorry.
So I think that's basically it. It's just I think that in DC, they let their politics trump their storytelling and not the other way around. With that said, I've seen the trailers for Aquaman, and I have to tell you, it looks really great.
Really, I haven't seen an Aquaman trailer yet.
No, I mean the trailers are really cool.
Well, the
really
Justice
cool.
League trailer looked pretty good too, but almost every good moment from the movie was in the 2.5 minute trailer.
Yeah. But this is different, I think, because well, first of all, casting Jason Momoa was just a stroke of genius.
He's got presence.
As everybody knows, Aquaman was the running joke of both Marvel and DC universes, right? I mean, while the Justice League prepares to battle the international criminal, Aquaman is out making sandwiches for everybody because he has a power to talk to fish. So casting Jason Momoa and you remember how Aquaman was always like the whitest guy in all of Christendom, you know?
Yeah.
This blonde guy with a scaly now they've got this guy with some real presence.
Swarthy hairsuit.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason I think that this Aquaman movie might be good is not because of all the groovy special effects like you saw when they were promoting Justice League. This movie looks good because they're letting Jason Momoa carry the movie, which tells me there's a bit of story there. At least there's a bit of character there. And, I mean, seriously, since you asked, don't you get the impression that Ben Affleck just despises being Batman, that he just despises himself for it? You know what I mean? So
I like his Bruce Wayne, believe it or not. His Batman.
To conclude this oration, let me just say, I think the best superhero movie and best superhero movies ever made were DC characters with Chris Nolan's Batman trilogy, which I thought was just extraordinary. But that had a lot of conservative elements in it,
yes.
A great many conservative elements in it, and that's why it succeeded.
Yeah, Chris Nolan who wrote and directed those. Well, he co-wrote them with his brother. Is a pretty conservative guy, and he makes really solid movies. Scott, I thought Bill raised a good point with the open patriotism we saw in the Avengers movie, which I think was the first superhero movie to make $1 billion at the box office, which is just huge because, they made half of that overseas. And overseas, they don't seem to mind American patriotism too much, do they?
Yeah, I think there's a sense in which the rest of the world desperately wants America to be America. And Hollywood has been ashamed of being America for such a long time. And it's interesting because if you look at the Avengers pictures, there are actually some fairly decent sort of left-wing ideas in them. The idea that working together as a team, we're going to be more effective. It's really that the whole group of the Avengers, ganging up together, and they desperately need each other in order to make it work. And you could play that if you wanted to for political points. But I think that the guys who make the Avengers movie differ. I don't think they differ ideologically. I think they're probably the same kind of leftists who are making the DC Comics movies. Yep. But I think they come to a sense of saying, you know what? When somebody steps into that dark room and is surrounded by sound and overwhelmed by color and action, they want to step out of their normal life for a couple of hours. They don't want to be dragged through the muck of 24/7 news coverage. And so that's what is so horrible about this idea of having Alex Jones. What's his name?
Alec Baldwin.
Alex Jones, Alec Baldwin, one of those extremists.
Both nuts.
Whichever one. So, to portray him as a Trumpian character is, I think, stealing from people that opportunity to have a moment of escape where you can say, I know what real life is. Now I want to have something that's above, that's beyond, that's different, that's transformative. And I think the other element that I think is so where Bill hit the nail on the head with the Chris Nolan Batman movies, what succeeded there, they were dark too. Like the stupid DC Comics movie where Superman and Batman get into a fight. Like, I didn't even want to go to see that. Like, I only went to see it because I got a chance to hold my wife's hand during a movie, and that's the only reason I go to movies. But I hated the idea of Superman and Batman punching it out. I really did. But the reason why the dark Christopher Nolan movies work is because not only does ultimately good triumph over evil, the good guy wins, so to speak, but there's a redemptive nature to the darkness. Like, you've got to descend into darkness in order to bring the light. Right. And they achieve that in that trilogy, where it seems like DC has gotten completely lost its moorings and thinking it is just enough to descend into darkness. That's what the people wanted. The people didn't want the darkness. They wanted the redemption.
And the one exception.
You have to remember that.
Oh, go ahead, Bill.
Sorry, just all of these characters were created at a time of enormous patriotism, and you can't divorce the patriotism from the character without completely dismantling and undermining the character.
Well, I've even seen portrayals of Superman in the past where they sort of play. You could tell they're kind of playing his naivete and his patriotism.
That's fine
for laughs.
But for laughs,
yeah.
No, anyway, I remember the Chris Reeve movie the first time he opened up, the first time he rips open his shirt in the first Superman. It's just oh my God.
The poster said, "You'll believe a man can fly."
Yes.
And
I remember.
We did.
And at the end of that,
did.
he's dropped Lex Luthor off in the prison, and he's heading up into the sky, and the warden comes out and says, "America's safe again, thanks to you, Superman." And Chris Reeves looks down and he says, "Don't thank me, Warden. We're all part of the same team." You know, and I was
good stuff. I don't care if it's cheesy.
Yeah, it's great
good
stuff. Great stuff.
And
Great.
They brought some of that to Wonder Woman, which is the exception so far to the DC Comics movies. It was really good entertainment. It was character driven. And other than that, you guys have said everything I wanted to say on this topic. So I'll just kind of end on a little Alec Baldwin rant. You know, way back in the day, he was a real actor's actor. He got his shot at superstardom as Jack Ryan in The Hunt for Red October, but he turned down the sequels in order to go back to Broadway to play Stanley in A Streetcar Named Desire. And Frank Rich, the New York Times theater critic, said that his Stanley was the first one that didn't leave him longing for Marlon Brando, which is just about the best compliment you can give to a serious actor. But for, I don't know, the last 15 years or so, Alec Baldwin has been playing Phil Hartman, playing Alec Baldwin, playing Blake in a sitcom reboot of Glengarry Glen Ross. You know, he shows up in the suit, he's got the hair, he does the Alec Baldwin shtick, he gets his paycheck, and he goes home, which is nice work if you can get it, but I miss that actor's actor. And I have the feeling we're not going to see that guy coming back for the Joker, which is a real shame because the old Alec Baldwin could have really brought something to what should have been a really good movie. What a shame. I'll still have to watch it with my kids. Oh well, there's your right angle on that. Brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. If you like what you see, please click over. We'd love to have you on board. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.